the details of what I did, why, how big this was, how just all of it. He wanted to know if she used a strap, if she didn't, how she ate me out, how everything. Did I like it? Did I do her? He wanted all the details.
Because just like you had to compare yourself to who he cheated with, he had to compare himself to who you cheated with. And the fact that you cheated with someone that is not equipped with what he has makes it even tougher.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to another episode of She Say, He Say ATL.
Hey,
We back again with another episode dealing with marriage, black love. So tonight what it is we got to talk about is if we're going to talk about marriage, we got to talk about divorce, right? If we talk about marriage, we got to talk about divorce. We got to go through the reasons that we don't make it. The reason why the divorce rate in this country, not just among black people, but the divorce rate in this country is so high. And one of the things that, my people need to realize is when you marry and don't stay married, we talked about building wealth and how much wealth can be built if you marry the right person. But if you marry the wrong person, it takes about 80 to 85% of your wealth off rip, right? And, 100 times we told her to go ahead and turn your phone down.
I did turn it down.
And the phone didn't get turned down.
I turned it down and put it on Do Not Disturb.
And it still interrupted us.
They need you. Whoever that is found a firewall.
Lord. Look, public service announcement.
Right.
This is the reason why you don't have 5 kids.
So
They don't know how to act right.
All right, so we'll count it down again. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome, family, to another episode of She Say, He Say ATL. We got the family in the building this evening. We're going to let everybody go around the table and let everyone introduce themselves. And we're going to get into this episode since we've been talking heavily about black marriage, we're going to talk about divorce, right? So we're going to let the family go around the table and introduce themselves. We'll start with my main man right here.
What's up, family? It's your boy Trey B, man. You can find me on IG, Trap Bailey. You can find me on Facebook, Travis Bailey. It's your boy Trey.
And I am Brittany, aka Dream Queen, on social media. I am a plus size model of the group, here to share my opinions and offer my sound mind and suggestions.
It's your girl, Ash Nicole. I am a plus size model of this group. Brittany is our second.
Okay, so you've created a hierarchy. Anyway, this is your boy Original Knockoff, man. Original_knockoff on IG. Come holler at your boy, man. All right, so tonight we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about divorce. We're going to talk about black divorce.
Today,
we're going to talk about the divorce rate in the country, right? Ultimately, divorcing the person that you choose to build wealth with can wipe you out. It can take about 80% of your wealth, right? So that's what a lot of brothers be running from. A lot of brothers, men and women, run from. I can protect my things as long as I don't get married. So let's talk about divorce, and let's talk about some of the reasons for divorce at this time. So without further ado, let's let Miss No Silence Phone bring us in. Come on, bring us in.
Number 1.
Oh, man.
So there's 5 top reasons for divorce, and we all have a little piece of the puzzle that we're all going to talk about. But one of those that I've experienced within divorce is addiction. Addiction was really heavy in my marriage. It was the end all to be all, and I didn't realize how much it was killing the relationship because I thought I was trying to help somebody come out of it. And unfortunately, instead of helping them, I was hurting them, me, and my children. So I had to run ASAP. I had to get up out of it because it became very physical. It became very tumultuous. It became very sad situation. So it wasn't healthy for me. It wasn't healthy for him. It wasn't healthy for our children. And I take fault in that because, again, like I said, I called myself a fixer and I was not fixing anything. I was actually tearing it apart. So.
Okay.
That's one of them.
All right. So why does addiction play such a huge role, especially in the black household, the black family? Why does addiction play such a huge part when it comes to our relationships and our marriages? Why do y'all think that is?
Mental health.
It affects everything. It affects your finances, mental health.
I think it's an escape. I think people that have addictions like that, they trying to escape from something, you know, mentally, you know. So whatever that escape is, that's their solace and, you know, whatever they're trying to run from.
Right.
Yeah. Ultimately, James Baldwin said, "To be black and to be woke in this country means to be enraged all the time," right? So being a black person in this country by itself comes with a set of circumstances oftentimes it's hard to deal with. So what we tend to do as people is we tend to try to self-medicate. You dig what I'm saying? So and don't get it twisted. The eugenicists that created the program that have us in the situation that we're in, they knew that, right? They knew that we had a need to self-medicate when they began to pump the opiates and the cocaine, when they began to pump that into our community. So they knew what it would do. It wasn't happenstance, right? If we're being 100% honest. So addiction has played a huge part. I've watched many marriages fall apart. I mean, great marriages fall apart because of addiction, right? But then the question is, how do we, or can we, is it possible for us to navigate that? Is there any way around that? What can we do? What can we do differently?
Within
the community, or with just simply within a marriage?
I mean, honestly, it really has everything to do with the individual. I mean, you really can't navigate it if they're not willing or ready. I mean, that's something that they have to kind of come to the realization of and be willing to put aside, to take, you know what I mean, the proper steps like therapy. And the sad part is the health system doesn't help. The health system really doesn't finance mental illnesses. They don't finance when you need that, you know, the therapist, you know what I mean? They finance only a certain amount. So let me get that correct. They do finance some, but not enough. And somebody that's going through serious mental illness, they need that constantly. It's a daily routine that they need to speak with somebody, or be able to pick up a phone, or be able to have whatever it is that's going to be able to calm them, or, you know, regulate whatever's going on. And there's not enough money, or if there is, they're not giving it to that type of programming.
Yeah, you 100% right. I mean, to be 100% honest, really for everybody in the U.S., but since we're speaking heavily on the black community, I think mental health should be just as important when it comes to medical insurances.
Yes.
It should be just as important for us to be able to see who it is that we need to see to get the help that it is that we need to get first and foremost.
Right.
And I ask you 100% right. I think if we were able to do that, number one, if there wasn't a stigma in the black community behind therapy, right? If we were all accepting of the fact that we have a reason to be pissed, right?
Years and years.
Yeah.
of reasons to be pissed.
Yeah. And what they found is that a lot of the things that our ancestors went through can be passed through your DNA.
Right.
Right. So when they tell us to get over it, or when they tell us it didn't happen to you, actually it did.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right. It happened to my great grandma.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And then she tells the stories, and then your aunts and uncles tell the story, and they're enraged because they know that their mama, or they've seen their mama have to go through it, or their dad. I mean, it becomes a repeated cycle.
Yeah.
Exactly. So mental health is
big.
tremendous. It's important in our community. So, Brittany, what else you got?
I would say communication. Communication is another reason for divorce. I would say not having enough knowledge about marriage and not knowing that it's okay to talk about stuff that you're uncomfortable with or that you don't feel like you should have to express? Because I know when I first got married, I went through the thing of trying to figure out what was wrong, instead of you just telling me or us just having a conversation or finding out later on down the line that this is something you didn't like. And, maybe me thinking you liked it, and just because you didn't communicate that with me, so something as simple as saying, I don't like this food that you cook, or I don't like the way you do this. If I'm doing it on a regular and you don't say anything about it, then I automatically assume that there's nothing wrong with it. And then it becomes this huge issue one day, and then you're upset with me, and like it causes a ripple of effects, and then you're all of a sudden telling me all these things that I do that you don't like.
Right.
So I just feel like communication, before we even get to the marriage part, it should be heavy in the relationship. You should always be communicating what you like, what you don't like. I'm a Libra. I change daily.
Girl.
So I always want to talk about how I'm feeling. How are you feeling? Are you in a good mood today? I feel like communication is very important all throughout a relationship. In the beginning, when you're courting, when you first get married, after you're married, on throughout the relationship, especially if you're navigating a different style of relationship.
And then communicating effectively, which means being able to have a conversation with understanding to it instead of a conversation where you need to feel like you need to be heard.
Yes.
Understand what your partner is saying and don't take offense to it. But also, if you are feeling some type of way about the conversation, speak up.
That, yes.
You know what I mean? That's part of the communication. Effective communication has to be a back and forth and has to be an understanding between both parties. If you don't understand what your partner is saying, speak that. Say, I don't get what you're saying. I don't understand it, or this makes me feel some type of way. Do not just automatically feel some type of way, shut down, and don't want to speak anymore. That's not communicating effectively. And then you're just going to continue that cycle through the rest of your relationship, and then eventually you'll get to, which is one of our points, it's number 5, since there's only 4 of us, I'll just say it, is where you fall out of love. I mean, you haven't communicated completely through the whole relationship, and now all of a sudden, I don't feel like dealing with you no more. I don't even want to talk to you.
I also think that what we got to do when we communicate, this is something I heard in my past, talk to someone, don't talk at them.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
If they feel you talking at them like they a child, they're not going to
Hear
listen.
you.
They're not going to really care about what you're talking about. So it's all about how you communicate to your partner as well. Don't talk to them like you on a bigger level. Don't talk to them like they smaller than you. You know what I'm saying? Talk to them as a loving person.
So true.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I dig
So
it.
true.
So,
I dig it. So I got a couple points. How many times, and let's be honest, how many times have you been having a conversation with someone and you've been sitting there, you're waiting on them to stop so you can interject?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
daily.
You learn better, you do better.
Yeah.
All the time. I be like,
Yeah. But see, but if you think about it though, let's be honest. If you're waiting to interject, you're not
You're
communicating.
not listening.
and you're not listening.
Yeah,
Nope.
because you're not listening.
You heard that one thing, and
Yeah.
you're like, I'm finna respond.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's all you're
So the
listening
minute
Right.
that you want to interject, you have stopped listening.
to.
Yes.
Exactly.
So communication has stopped at that
Exactly.
point, right? So that's one of the things that I've picked up, Trey, through therapy. I mean, if we're being 100% honest, my wife and I have definitely done it. And one of the things is just making sure that when we do communicate, it's before you formulate your response, you need to hear everything it is that he or she is saying.
you're right.
Correct.
Then you formulate the response, right? But most of us,
The first little thing,
yeah.
we ready.
yeah,
we ready.
because I remember that time.
Yeah.
And you ain't heard this because I'm about to. I mean, at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying. It's effective communication, and I can't speak for everyone here, but the community that I come from, the upbringing that I had, was not about communication. Everything was. I mean, like as children, we constantly ask why.
Yeah.
Do as you're told.
That's a
because I
form
said
of
so.
communication. But instead of them communicating, it was because I said so.
Right.
so.
There was no reason.
Yes, there was.
It was a
Like I
dictatorship.
said, you're the child.
It
I'm
was-
the adult.
Right.
You listen to what I say.
It was a
Right.
dictatorship.
Exactly.
It was a dictatorship, and
Yep.
and exactly what you said is why they shut down automatically
Yep.
because of what he said.
They
Is
just wanna-
you're
they
used
just
to
turn
your
around a bit.
parents telling you what to do, how to do it. You're not supposed to respond because this is what I said, and that's how it goes. So when you grow up, that's what you remember. So the moment somebody sound like they're talking to you like they're your mama or your daddy, you're like,
You're gonna shut down.
I'm a grown up.
But understand that unfortunately that may be the only way they know how
And
to
that's true,
communicate
because
that's
that's
the
all
way
they
they were
seen.
communicated
Gotta
with.
break the cycle.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that's one of the most important things when we're going to, our pastors or when we go into our therapists before marriage and we're talking about getting married. One of the things that we need to know is, can we effectively communicate? Are we good communicators? That's one of the things that I think that we need to learn going in.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you one of the things that I'm a big believer in now. Before I get heavily involved in like engagement and eventually marriage, is couples therapy before
Marriage.
you get married.
Of course.
Let's see how we are when we're telling each other how we feel about each other. Some of
Right.
the things we don't like that you may not know that I don't like, but we gonna talk about it. So when we get married, it's what I'm saying, it's in the back.
Right.
Can we communicate?
Most definitely.
Can we go through therapy, see how we love each other, see the things we need to work on, and
Exactly.
Right. Having
yeah,
a
let's see.
mediator.
Exactly.
Yes, a mediator is
Exactly.
good.
Yeah, one of the things that I do with my kids, and I watch them. I do this all the time. So the wife is always buying something that comes through Amazon that needs to be put together that I don't feel like messing with, right? But what I do is I call my kids and their significant others over to the house, and their responsibility is to put it together.
Yeah.
And the reason I do that is simply because I want to see how well they communicate. And ultimately, can they literally build together? Right? So I sit and watch, them put things together. And I can instantly tell if they're in trouble, or I can instantly tell if they will be good together. Right? Based on how long it takes,
That's a good one.
how many arguments they get into, right? Usually,
frustration level.
yeah, the frustration level, and usually, my son and his little girlfriend, they do okay.
That's good.
They do pretty good. So, if they should so choose to be together, I think that they would be good for each other, right? But I think that along with that couples therapy, I think all couples should take on the challenge of building something together, right? And seeing, can you effectively communicate during that process? Does he frustrate you? Does she frustrate you? And if he or she does, how do you deal with that?
Right.
You dig?
Right.
I think those things are very important. So Trey, what's next? What's after communication? What do you feel?
One of the things that I've gone through personally is falling in and out of love in a relationship. Falling, when you first start, you in love. That's my boo. That's my bae. Something goes wrong in the marriage, and a lot of the times, what we just talked about, communication, financial situations, things that make you get mad at your significant other because they're doing something that you done communicated about, y'all done sat and talked about, you done had mama over. Mama, can you sit down and help us mediate this situation that we're going through? And nothing changes. Nothing changes within your marriage to better it. So you start going this way, to the right. Your significant other either stays in the middle of the road or they go to the left. And eventually, when you have two people not seeing eye to eye, not caring what the other person feels or thinks, not trying to change anything that they may be doing in a situation or in a marriage, when you have lost and exhausted every avenue that you have to try to fix it, help it, repair it, bro, the love gets gone quick. You dread to come home. You getting off work. you supposed to be happy going home to your family. You dreading it because you know what's await you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? She ain't gonna do this. He ain't gonna do that. Such and such. And it ain't just one person's fault. It's not a
Right.
man's fault. It's not a woman's fault. It's a marriage. So it's both of y'all's fault. Right. You know. But even still, you can fall out of love quick. Quick.
Yeah.
So
That's dope. I mean, what you're saying is 100% true. I think that is the end result. I think it's a symptom of the deeper issues
Right.
that
Right.
we had really just talked about. One of them being communication.
Yes, that's the biggest one.
The biggest one. And I think just really knowing the person, you know what I'm saying, that you choose to marry, because the hormone that is created when you first meet a person, usually it may last 2 years, right? It may last 2 years, where you feel that I'm in love. There's no
She's
other
the one.
person, right? There's no other woman for me
yeah.
but her.
Yep.
You know, where have you been all my life, right?
Correct.
And then after that 2 year period, it's like, will she take her ass home somewhere? You know what I'm saying? So, but I think if we know that though, if we know that going in, you know, what's causing this emotion, what's causing me to feel this way, and it's going to be important that I'm able to do the work, because now it's work.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
After that 2 year period is work. So it's going to be important that I'm able to do that work after this feeling wears off, because I do actually love this person.
Yes.
I am actually in love with this person. But can I put up with everything? Because
That come with that.
yeah,
person.
because better chances out of 10, you didn't change, right? Now when y'all met each other, you probably sent your representative. But I'm gonna say by the end of year one of a marriage, you are pretty much who you are. You didn't change.
Also, date for a minute. You don't
Oh,
have to get
yeah,
married
definitely.
so fast. One of the things, and I'm gonna say this, one of the mistakes I made is getting married because I thought I was doing the right thing.
Yes.
Yes.
You know,
Definitely. I
she
agree.
having my baby.
Yeah, we've been there.
We still good. We cool.
Why not get married?
My religion, get married. You know, that's how I grew up in the
Yes.
in the church. Of you get married to your child's mother. You know, if y'all together, and that wasn't a situation I should have put myself in
Right.
in the first place.
Gotcha.
I'm thinking I'm doing it for the right reasons, but you know, it wasn't for the right reasons. So
Right.
you know, that's that. It ain't always this person's fault. You have to look in the mirror and also take blame and take responsibility for the
Correct.
part you played in it too.
Correct.
Most
You
definitely.
know, it's just marriage is very it's great, but you have to do it right and you have to put the work in.
Yeah.
Correct.
Period, point blank.
That being the key word. It's work.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but anything worth having is
worth
worth
it.
Yes.
working for. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I mean, I think that's the standpoint that we have to have when it's time to actually put in that work. Because if you chose the right person in the beginning,
That's
all
key.
of those little things, they
It
won't
won't
matter.
matter.
Yep.
Right? Like, damn, every time she get up, she fart. You get in the bed and she just drop one on. You know what I'm saying? And she don't even pull the cover back. That won't matter. That
Get some
won't
of them
matter.
automatic sprays.
Right.
Right.
That won't matter, right? Because you married the right way. You married for the right reason.
Or her farts don't bother you. You know. I know she gonna fart. That's okay. At least she
Don't
don't
be in the bed when she first
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
work it out.
That's a
Exactly.
small thing right there.
That's a
you know?
small thing, exactly. But you and I both know when that love wear off,
Yeah.
it becomes
Every little
big
thing.
every little
Yeah.
thing.
Every little
It's
thing.
one of those
little
big
thing,
things,
yes.
right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's all about marrying well in the beginning
Right.
and making sure that you understand that it's time to actually work
Yeah.
on the relationship, right? So before we go to break, I got one, right? Mine is finances. One of the biggest reasons that couples divorce is finances. And we've spent the whole season talking about how you can build wealth through marriage, right? So how is it that finances is the biggest reason for divorce? Anybody got anything for it?
Because, yeah, you don't plan.
Okay.
I mean, when you don't plan, how are you supposed to be able to be efficient or successful? I mean, now you're just going through the motions, and if you didn't break it down, budget right, or none of that, then believe me, I know it's happened. Didn't break it down, you didn't budget, you didn't plan for nothing. So what are you saving for? What are you doing? You're just spending money. So either you're going places, you're just, you don't really consciously think about your future. You don't consciously think about what we're growing to do or building from. So you just move through life. You pay bills, you go places, you take care of your kids, and then next thing you know, you're still broke.
Right.
You didn't consciously sit down and be like, okay, we needed to plan for this, we needed to budget this, we need to make sure that we're working towards, buying a house, we're working towards something. You know what I mean? And that's a lot of the times why the finances go awry.
So you have two financial illiterates
Pretty much.
saying that we're about to build wealth. We're about to do this thing as a couple, and we have people who can't control their spending. They were never taught how to budget. Right. They were never taught that in the beginning it may be important to live on one income. Right. We don't live within our means because we were never necessarily taught how as a whole. Some of us were. Not saying that all of us weren't taught. My father was the most frugal person that I've ever seen in my entire life. Right. You can attest to that. This is a man who made six figures off all of his life, for most of my life, but we lived smack dab in the middle of the ghetto, right? No, we did.
Own properties in the ghetto.
yeah. Now, he did own properties in the ghetto, but we lived there.
Yeah.
We lived there. So he was actually one of the most frugal people I've ever met, and he was pretty good at counting his dollar, right? So I did learn a few things from him, but as a whole, we're not taught. Go ahead. We're not taught about money.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up how counts his money.
Yeah.
Because one of the issues financially you can be divorced is all the money going in one pot, all the money going in one account. And like Ash said, you're not planning, you're not budgeting. So if all this money, Renee money, my money, going into an account, bills are paid. So the little money that's left in there, we need to save. We only get paid every 2 weeks or whatever. Let's save it. Well, I'm at work. Babe, why are you buying $60 worth of spoons for our kitchen? We have spoons. Like, it doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
When you're not communicating financially what you're spending your money on, it causes a problem. Especially when you just have one account that both of you all are depending on. Your child's depending on that one account. Everybody money going in that one account. So if I brought $1,000 into that account, she only brought 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 in that account. After the bills are paid, who's to say what money is what?
Right.
It shouldn't matter because it's a joint account. But somebody has to be responsible enough to say, look, we're not going to spend this. We're going to budget. We're going to plan how we're going to do our money. And a lot of times that don't happen. Someone sees some money in that account, they're going to spend it. Bills are paid. The child's good. They thinking everything good. They're not accounting for what could happen during the week. Car could break down.
Right.
Anything can happen.
Right.
And you done spent the money on Amazon or something.
Right.
Communication again.
Exactly.
Communication.
Yeah, I think what Ash said is I think having a financial plan
Yes.
is of the utmost. I mean, I'm quick to tell people, if you cannot run your household, you cannot run a business. I get so many people to come to me, hey Mike, how do I build a business plan? Or how do I do this? Or how do I do that? But I look at their situation and it's in disarray. And what I already know is if you can't run your day-to-day, you can't run a business. Your household should be run like a business. There should be a financial plan in place every year. Every year you guys should sit down and talk about what does this year look like for us? What's the forecast? Quarter by quarter, these are the things that we would like to have accomplished, right? And if you both can sit down and agree on that and set your budget accordingly, everything should take care of itself. It shouldn't be those $60 spoons.
Yeah.
They weren't accounted for
Yeah.
in the budget.
Exactly. And therefore, that makes a rift in your marriage when you got a problem that happened and you at the brake shop trying to get some brakes. And you $60 short because someone spent $60 on some spoons
Ooh,
you
that
don't know
hurt.
nothing about.
You got to squeak right on at the brake shop.
Right.
Eventually, that makes you be like, you know what? I'm going to have my own money.
Right.
And that's why so many people today always want to make their own. I got my own bag. I got my own this. Because maybe they went through situations where they were stuck. They were hurt. They was messed up. And there was no money, no person to help them out in a situation that they got caught up in.
Right.
So
No,
they
I'm
going out
definitely.
for themselves.
Now, I'm definitely not saying don't put a little aside for yourself. Right. You know, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
You know, definitely, I would say everybody, even within the confines of a marriage, you put something up
Something aside.
for
Right.
yourself.
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
One of the things that I have done, and my wife knows about it. You know, I don't do the 401k, but one of the things that I did, she has a 401k. One of the things I did is I have a property, and that property goes in the profit from that property goes into a fund for me, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately, it's going to be a retirement account. However, that is my nest egg, so to speak, right? She has her nest egg, so to speak. So we both have our things, but collectively is where the bag is really had
Right.
in my relationship. Right? That's where we really getting it.
That's how it should be in every relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah,
know
you
what I'm
should.
saying?
That's how you build the wealth.
Exactly. That's
Exactly.
how you build the wealth.
Exactly. So that's how we really secure the bag. But I think knowing that in the beginning, right? And here's the problem, and we'll get into this a little later. Coming out of a relationship where I didn't have someone who was financially savvy and handled their business, it made it very easy for me to spot a person who was. Right?
And it makes you want them too.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Oh, this sexy. This
Exactly.
Look at that savings account.
Exactly. And
used to this.
and it's not easy, unfortunately, for somebody who's never experienced it to spot it. And even harder for a person who's coming out of a situation where they're simply financial. They don't have any financial prowess at all. So they're marrying because, let's keep it honest. She got a pretty face and she got a fat ass. You know what I'm saying? They're not necessarily. Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Likes me.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
marry
Yeah, So we're marrying for all the wrong reasons. That's
Right.
not one of the things that we're looking at. If the first thing we're saying is, we're going to build financially together, do you even have the foundation to build financially together?
Correct.
Right? So, and if you're already in that particular situation, as we told, my wife and I sat down with another couple who had just got married, and one of the things we told them is to book club together, right? So, every marriage should have education, period. So you guys go get a book on finance, go get a book on saving, go get a book on budgeting, go get a book on real estate, go get a book on starting a business. Whatever it is that you guys want to accomplish, go get a book on it. Read.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? We read together and we figure out how to do this together, right? So if you're already in a situation and wifey spending a little bit too much or husband is spending a little bit too much,
Right. Educate
educate yourself. Let's start reading. Let's
Right.
figure out how the rich stay rich.
Right, and grow as a couple.
And if you don't like reading, go to YouTube.
Audiobook.
Audiobooks.
My sister does audiobooks.
Audiobooks.
I do
But she likes to
audiobook.
read too. Though.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I know a lot of people don't like
When
reading.
she's working,
So
she
if you
does
don't like
audiobooks.
reading, you can always
Audiobooks.
listen.
Yeah.
Whatever you need to do.
Whatever.
is
The
listen.
internet is out there for y'all.
Yeah, she tell you, I'm audible all day long.
Yes, sir.
I listen as I drive.
Yes, sir.
We live in Atlanta. We do a lot of driving.
A lot of sitting too.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So throw your audiobook on, and whenever you come to something interesting, you save that so you can take notes on it later. But that's the way you educate yourselves as a couple, right? So actually, there's no excuse. If we're applying some of the things that it is we're talking about, there's no excuse not to be successful.
Right.
But you have to realize your weaknesses. You have
Correct.
to realize that I'm a financial illiterate. I need to figure out how to truly secure myself and my family's financial future, and we'll figure this out together before we get married. right? And then before we get married, we'll go through this together. And then once we're ready, we'll put ourselves through whatever little test it is that we put ourselves through. But we'll know at that point that we're ready for marriage.
Correct.
Dig? All right. So
also, there was one more because we did not touch bases on it.
Okay, let's get it.
Infidelity and adultery.
Okay.
That's one of the second top.
That is 8.
one.
That's the 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th deadly sin right there.
That is it.
Oh, man.
But that's one of them. That is way. And the crazy thing is,
for women, that's 3 of them.
adultery and infidelity is major, but it always stems from, like we've been saying, communication and not understanding who your partner is, who you're getting involved with. And a lot of women make this sad mistake of, they'll be in a relationship with a man that was with somebody, left that person for them, and you're like, but what do you think is going to happen? He's going to do the exact same thing.
I posted a meme today that said, "Oh, so he left you for her, and y'all think y'all finna be happy? That's cute,
baby. That's
it's
what I'm
not
saying.
gonna happen."
So at the end of the day, you have to understand, like, the situations you put yourself in, or the situations that you see or you've heard of. Listen effectively, so that you can understand. When y'all having those conversations about, well, how did your last relationship go, or how did this go? And they'll tell you. They will willingly give you that information. And once you realize, like, I don't know if I want to deal with this. Right.
From relationship to
right. I don't want to deal with this. Or if you're listening to them and they say, I've done this or this before and I really liked it, understand that that's something that they liked. So they might want to try it again.
Right.
So, there's just ways that you have to effectively listen to understand if you want to be a part of this or not, because it's going to happen.
One of the things I like to do, I don't know how people feel about it, but I like to meet the woman's family. I want to meet the mother. If the father's in the picture, I want to meet the father. I want to see how you act around your family, how your family interacts. I want to see the stock you come from, because that'll tell me a lot about you. It may not tell me the whole picture, because you may not be the
like
same
that,
as your mother or your father.
Right.
You may be totally different, good or bad. Right. But I still just like to see how your family is, like where you come from, what kind of stock you got, like how are you raised,
what are your morals, what's your moral code?
Exactly. And that'll kind of give me a little bit of an idea of, okay, maybe I can go forward with this person.
Right. And believe that anybody that you're speaking with, the moment that they move forward, that means they've accepted whatever it is that you're telling them or going through.
Right.
Exactly.
So then at that point in time, if you guys had the proper communication, you listened effectively, you talked effectively, you told what your story is, they told what theirs is, and you guys move forward, then you have accepted who this person is as a person. Yep. So then when you're sitting there screaming, oh, they slept around on me, well,
you knew that.
Johnny said that.
Right.
But most of us lie though. Most, I mean, let's be honest.
But that's why I
most
said
of
effective.
us,